Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Wanda Huberman. She is the executive director of the NHA, and you're going to learn all about what the NHA is, what they've been doing for many, many years, doing lots of good in the world, and about a conference they have coming up where you can actually attend virtually at home for the very first time. And we'll give you a link to register. She's also going to be making a fabulous recipe, a chocolate cherry and ice cream. And she's also a success story because following the way of eating that I've been recommending for years, that Dr. Goldhammer's been recommending, that the NHA recommends, which is not only a plant exclusive diet, but one free of sugar, oil, salt. She actually lost 50 pounds and has kept it off. Please welcome Wanda to the show. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Chef AJ. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It is my pleasure. So executive director of the NHA, that's pretty cool, but not everybody's heard of the NHA. So tell us a little bit what it is.
Okay, briefly, it stands for National Health Association. Maybe 10 years ago, people knew it as the American Natural Hygiene Society. Nobody kind of got the secret that hygiene means science of health, and they thought it meant brushing your teeth or feminine hygiene products. So we changed it to National Health Association. And when the executive director retired a few years ago, my husband filled in on a volunteer basis for a while. And almost 2 years ago now, I took an early retirement from my career and became the executive director in an effort to help grow the organization and provide more programming and more education for audiences like yours.
Great. Who founded the organization?
It was founded in 1948 by a group of doctors, Dr. Herbert Shelton, Dr. William Esser, and his grandson, Stefan Esser, I think has been on your show. And his grandfather was every bit as much charismatic. I had the pleasure of meeting him many years ago. Dr. Benish was one. There were about 5 doctors in the late 40s that were practicing what was then called the Sheltonian principles. And it was an exclusive whole plant foods, no processing. And because you were just eating whole plant foods, there just by definition was no salt, oil, or sugar.
Right. You know, that's what I really love about this. I never heard of SOS-free really until I went to True North. And you and I have similar stories because we were both overweight as vegans, technically obese if you go by the numbers. And yet something magical happened for both of us at True North that mysteriously those 50 pounds disappeared.
It was amazing. So everybody thought I would go to hygiene conferences overweight and was so embarrassed because I'm married to Mark Huberman, who's the president and who's lived this his whole life. And everybody thought, oh, this was a natural for me. Well, it wasn't. I grew up on a farm with a very traditional background. And so when I met Mark and learned some things, I eased into it. And when I went off the standard American diet and went vegetarian, I didn't eliminate processed foods and I didn't eliminate dairy. I was traveling for work, so I was eating a ton of fast food. And I gained 50 pounds. And I lived that way, kind of struggling like, oh, I'm eating salads now. And for the first time in my life, I'm dealing with a serious weight issue. And I was just busy and I kind of ignored it. Or I don't know. I lived in oblivion for about 7 years. And then in my early 50s in 2011, I just said, I'm tired. I'm tired of being tired. And I knew Dr. Goldhammer. I knew all the people to talk to. I'd gone on vacations with the Furmans. It was ridiculous that I wasn't following it. And Alan said, buy a one-way ticket. And so I did. And I fasted for 21 days, but that wasn't the secret to weight loss for sure. It was a secret to neuroadapting and making it easier I would drink coffee to stay stimulated during the day and wine to wind down at night and junk food in between. So when I came home, I called my husband ahead of time and I just said, clear out the kitchen. I don't want to see coffee. I don't want to see wine. I don't want to see any processed foods. And I stayed at True North long enough to work with Kathy Fisher and Katie May and learning how to cook. And then I also had the privilege, David Goldman was there and got started on some exercising. And so I came home only 20 pounds thinner because after fasting, when you start eating, you gain some right back. And then within the next 4 months, I lost the other. It just melted away. It was crazy how fast when I was eating by the correct principles.
I know. And you and I are the same age, same. I think I'm a little bit older, but we were born the same year. And it was the same year that we both went to True North that we were given this information, which you actually already had. It's just that there's a difference between knowing it and doing it. But it just shows that once you implement it, it never doesn't work. And so many people that I work with, they won't let go of the coffee, the wine, the processed food, and they remain 50 pounds or more overweight.
It was a light bulb moment when I was feeling so tired. And you know what? I wasn't as sharp mentally at my job, and I could feel myself having to work a lot harder to accomplish what I should be doing. And I heard Dr. Esselstyn say, we all have our warranty periods, and some of them run out sooner than others. And I felt like my warranty period was running out. And if I can tell another quick story that just hit home, there was a dream job at the insurance company I used to work for in management in a higher level of claims that I had always wanted. I had applied twice before I went to True North, didn't get the job. When I came back, that job had opened up again. And I hesitated even applying because I had a good job with them, but it wasn't my dream job. And I decided, what the heck, I'll try one more time, third time's a charm. And I interviewed, and I swear my mental clarity was so much better. They told me it was the best interview they've ever had. I got hired on the spot. And then I stayed in that job for 5 years until I left to come work with the NHA.
That's fantastic. So because you fasted, you think that's why it was easier to let go of some of these things like that so many people have on a daily basis, like the coffee and alcohol that they never really can give up. Sometimes they give up the alcohol, but it seems like coffee. I've heard some, like Dr. Frank Sabatino, who was one of the guests at your conference, say he's seen people have a harder time getting off of coffee than hard drugs.
It's funny you'd mention Frank, because the conferences back when I was addicted to coffee were held at the Regency in Florida that was run by Frank Sabatino. And he knew I was addicted, and his chef, they would sneak coffee to my room. And here I am married to the president. I'm sneaking coffee in my room, brushing my teeth, running down to dinner, pretending it doesn't exist. It was humiliating, and the addiction was so clear I couldn't stand it. So that is the one food. If I happen to eat out and realize they slipped some salt or oil, I'm not going to fall off the wagon. I have not had one cup of coffee since I went out there. If I'm traveling and I'm that afraid, I'll make an excuse and I'll pull over and I'll close my eyes. I may even overeat on some granola or nuts because that's not an addiction for me. I can say yes and no to that. Coffee, I can still have a little bit of cocoa, and I know there's caffeine in some chocolate, and I'm careful with that, and it doesn't seem to trigger me, but I won't have a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Do you ever do any of the coffee substitutes? I recently got into them, not because I'm a coffee drinker, but in a dessert recipe, like the ones made out of brown rice. It's literally made out of brown rice, and it's so good.
Yeah. Is it Dandy Blend?
Well, Dandy Blend is different.
Okay.
Dandy Blend's also very good. It's a new one made by Say Me. It's the one that makes the decaffeinated tea, and they make an organic dark roast brown rice coffee, and it smells like coffee. It looks like coffee. It tastes like coffee, but I know it's not because I'm so sensitive to caffeine. I should get you some. I think you'd like it.
It's not Ticino, is it? Is that something?
No, it's literally the one ingredient, brown rice. That's it.
Oh, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Well, that's so interesting. Do you have any photos of your before going to True North?
Okay. Yes. So we had gone on a vacation up the coastline shortly before I decided to go to True North. And this was me in November 2011, or really this was October 2011, because I went to True North in November 2011. And then we went to the conference in Florida in June 2012. And this was me walking on the beach 6 months later. So, and then I have a couple to show over the years. So this was one where Mark and I had gone hiking shortly before at Falling Waters, which is a place near where we live. This way?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
And talk. Yeah.
And then this was another hiking photo taken about 4 months ago where we were hiking in the Smoky Mountains. So we love, when you feel this healthy, you want to be active, or at least I want to be active all the time. And I went to, I forget what beach, but Mark and I were at again before I lost the weight. So I'm not wearing bathing suits. And then we went to another beach after I lost the weight. This was probably 4 years ago. And it's just, and so the difference between this picture 6 months after I lost the weight when I was 51, I would say, and this picture when I was probably 58 is I had started working out. So I think the weight was the same, but I felt stronger with a little bit better muscle tone.
That's amazing. Wow, what a transformation. Sharon says, Wanda, you are a different person. You must feel so good and so proud.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And I even remember the first time I went to a meeting at work, and I did litigation management, and I was going to a mediation session, and a colleague of mine was in the parking lot, and he's looking straight at me. And until I started talking, he's like, because I had taken some family medical leave act to go out to True North and spend that time taking care of me, and then came back, and I'm back at work. And so the transformation was so stark that I had lots of people that, in fact, one person, I'm sitting around at a meeting after work, and one person's like, you look so great. I wonder if you've ever heard of the book Eat to Live. It's like, that's funny.
That is funny. So were you cooking for Mark before, actually before you went to True North? Did you have to change everything now that you were not doing it with sugar, oil, and salt?
Well, I did. So Mark is so disciplined. He's like Alan Goldhammer. It didn't matter what I had in the house. He was going to eat the proper way that he was raised. And I did a little bit of cooking. I traveled a lot. So I think it was all the processed foods, the Amy's frozen dinners and bringing in takeout. And I fooled myself, and I was doing something good. I always ate a big healthy salad, even when I was overweight. But then it's what I would eat when I was traveling and what I would eat after. So he'd eat his stuff, and then I would eat my junk food. And we were raising children, and they would eat a mixture of the two. And that's just what we did until by the time I went to True North, my oldest might have been in college, I don't know. And the youngest, we had children from different marriages. So I had a 5-year-old when I met Mark, and he had a 3-year-old. And so his daughter was raised from birth and mine wasn't. And we had the privilege that both kids were raised as sisters. They're now in their mid to late 30s. And one of them follows the diet and one of them doesn't. And
so which one follows it? The one that was raised that way or the other one?
The one that was raised from birth.
That's really interesting that parents take note. It's much easier and that's all you know. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Dina wants to know, do you drink decaf coffee?
I do not.
It still has caffeine, like 25% caffeine.
That's what made me afraid. And I was afraid that it's just too slippery of a slope for me.
Right. And I hear the chemicals they use are not so great when they do that. So tell us about the conference this year, because this is the first time you're offering it both in person as a live stream, which I think is a great idea, even if there's no pandemic, because let's face it, there's a big world out there. Some people just can't get to Cleveland.
Yeah, well, thank you for encouraging me to do that, because I wasn't sure I wanted to. And it's a learning curve, but I'll hold up. This is who is coming to the conference. And what is nice about them all being live is instead of having to record or talk to them. Oh, I'm sorry. That's an old picture. Mark, can you get me the new picture of who's coming? So Dr. Fitzgerald was not able to get in from Australia. JP was not able to travel, and Tammy Kramer was not able to travel. Everybody else will be live and in person at the conference. And we've hired a professional videography team, and we've hired a professional AV team, and they're going to stream it live. So when things go great, you're going to see it. When there's snafus that always happen at a live conference, you're going to see it. We have scheduled breaks, of course, during the live conference. So that's going to be fun, because Mark or one of the other NHA board members or myself might be walking around, and you'll get to talk one-on-one with Dr. Sabatino, Dr. Goldhammer. You'll get to maybe talk to the people that are eating meals. You'll get to see the meals. So if you want to try coming in person another year, you'll know what to expect. And our platform has something called networking. It's new to me, but you'll be able to just press on networking, and you can jump in a private room and chat with somebody if you'd like. You'll get to see the vendor tables that we have. and they'll build their booths and you might get to chat with them. Finally, you'll get to participate with Q&A. So we're going to have Q&A after some of the lectures, and we'll just have an hour Q&A session on Sunday. And what I plan to do is when people have a question in the audience, we'll answer one audience question, and then I'm going to have various people in the audience monitoring the virtual questions.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oops, sorry.
Who was that? That wasn't Alexa.
That was my watch. So then I'll go to, oh, hold on. I'm going to get.
That's funny. We've had Alexa. Queen of Aries, the conference is in Cleveland. And we can tell you about, are there any in-person tickets available?
There are. So we were sold out for quite some time, and then the hotel opened up a few seats and we sold out again. And now they've opened up a few more seats. And just for those who are thinking about safety and health, we went to this hotel because in 2019, I was at a hotel that had 300 and we had 200 on our wait list. So that was the reason to go to a bigger hotel, and that was the reason to launch this virtually. So the hotel now, COVID restrictions have been eliminated in Ohio, but we're keeping it, we have 292 seats, and at 292 seats, it's going to be 2 or 3 people at a table, no more than 3, and many tables with just 2. And so you're going to feel very safe. And we have about 40 seats left. Now that we can seat 292, we won't fill the lecture hall just in this transition period.
That sounds great. Can you talk about previous conferences? What have been the highlights for you?
So 2019, having you do your demo was fun.
Oh, remember with the president of Vitamix there when I basically
I wasn't going to
top of the Vitamix in the Vitamix.
Yes, so that's going to be nice this year. So what's changed from 2019 to now is Vitamix has invited me to be on their board of directors. So I now serve on the Vitamix board, and I've met they have a new executive leadership team. I had no idea. Vitamix will be celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, and they started based on a foundation of whole plant foods. And it is a commitment that is very real to them, and that's why they asked me to join the board, to keep that commitment. They're in their 5th generation of family members running it. So the gentleman you met, John Barnard, his daughter is now the CEO, but he's still one of the owners. We're going to have 2 of the executive leaders there. We're going to have maybe 5 of the Vitamix owners there, as well as chefs from Vitamix doing their own demonstrations. So it's going to be awesome. But the demos have been fun. I'd say the best thing at previous conferences, even at, and you saw it, so you tell me if I'm right, even with 250 people there, it felt connected. You didn't feel like you're at a college campus and you don't know anybody and you've got 4 people to talk to. I don't know how everybody in this community is just so lovely and so kind. And you get to, when you eat your meals, the doctors don't all sit at a table. They spread out. And if there's a table with Dr. Esser or Dr. Clapper and a seat at the table with Dr. Clapper and his wife, you'll go sit down and you'll have lunch or dinner with them. And it goes, the same is true with all the other doctors. They hang out for the weekend and they are so generous with their time. If they're available and in the hallway, you're welcome. They love to chat with you. That's why they're hanging out. They feel very passionate because many of these doctors, before the internet, the NHA conferences have been held since 1949. We were the only live platform back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It wasn't until more recent times that there were so many options.
That is great. How did you get the hotel to do the food so spectacularly? Because, we had so much trouble finding hotels when we were doing conferences like the Vegas ones that would do, not vegan, but like without salt. They're like, what are you talking about, lady? You're crazy.
I know. It is the biggest challenge. And I was up probably till 11 o'clock last night working on recipes. And my contract says they will only use recipes I've given them. And they'll only cook them the way I state. And in 2019, one of the recipes had mustard. And the head chef was so understood how we met. I said, people have salt sensitivities. They're going to be walking with their hands swollen. If you try and sneak that in, you're going to have 100 people complaining and I can't pay you for the food you prepared. So it has to be without exception. And he called me, he's like, oh my gosh, I can't find salt-free mustard. So I said, hold on, let me go to my refrigerator. And I found Westbury and I sent it to them, and they source from where I tell them if necessary. So I give them a do and don't list. I give them the recipes. I'm meeting them on Thursday. I make Friday night's dinner for the chef. And I tell them, you can make it tasty, it can look good. And then I go back the next week and they make Saturday night dinner for me to critique.
Right. They don't understand that people that eat this way will like the food. And I find the other thing, and I think this might have happened at your conference too, is they don't understand calorie density. And since we're not eating a lot of oil and a lot of high fat foods, that we need more food. And a lot of these conferences run out of food.
That's so true. And I tried, our last chef at the one you were at was spectacular. And we've stayed in touch, and he would have been willing to independently contract to help. And that would have made my life so easy, but they didn't take me up on that offer. And I've told him, I said, the chef from our last conference has one important tip that you better take to heart. Whatever you think you're going to need in produce, triple it. And you have to buy a produce truck because there's no way your kitchen can handle the produce you're going to need for our weekend. So they've rented a produce truck, and I said, you better hire extra prep people in the kitchen because there's a lot of prep necessary. So that's why it's been in Cleveland for the last 4 years, because that's a 90-minute drive for me. There's an easy hotel. So 3 things. In Cleveland, I can get there and oversee and get them understanding this, which is so key. And there's an international hotel or airport. You can fly in and not need to rent a car. And Cleveland pricing is still more economical, so I can keep the in-person pricing affordable.
Yeah, that happened to us one year in Vegas, running out of food. And that's I mean, we could forgive a couple of sins, but not at a conference. Like the food is, the in-person part, the food is kind of the most important thing.
Right. That's what I told them. I said, our speakers are great, but if you don't get the food right, we're not coming back. And next year they want me back for 500 people. So it's that carrot, I'm not signing the contract till I see that you get the food right.
You sound like a great business person. I'm going to have you negotiate my contract as a person. And so
fortunately, my prior career, that's what I did. A lot of.
Oh, nice. And you're married to an attorney, so they can't mess with any of the Hubermans, right?
We met as adversaries on opposite sides of the legal courtroom.
I did not know that.
And I won.
Of course. So I've been posting the link both in the chat and in the show notes for people to register for the live stream. But maybe it would help if I played a very short video of last year's conference.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, this is really short, guys. So let me just share my screen. I will get that for you in just a second. And play. There we go.
The National Health Association, in my opinion, has done more for health and the understanding of health promotion in the world than I think any mainstream organization out there.
This is the oldest organization that's really been promoting this plant-based lifestyle long before it was cool for everyone else to do. And I love the organization because it really has no agenda other than to share information that can really promote health and help people's lives.
So it's purely about health, healthy living, educating individuals about what they can do for their best health. And that's rare to find anymore these days.
The 2019 conference has been one of my favorite of the year. It's very, very complete. The food is fantastic. A great hotel that we're at, and I love all the people.
The food is absolutely phenomenal. There's no salt, there's no oil, there's no sugar. It's live produce, it's living food, it's got energy about it.
Just like certain places you go in California, the who's who of Hollywood, the NHA conference is the who's who when it comes to the fasting world, when it comes to natural health. And all my heroes speak at this conference.
I think there's something to be said for being around like-minded people. And even me, who's in this business, I get a lot out of that. It feeds your soul, so I love that. The food's amazing. The talks are amazing. And the camaraderie for 3 or 4 days is wonderful.
I love what NHA does and the way it does it. It takes really breakthrough information that people need, and it makes it accessible to everybody. Makes it understandable. It's also the latest science in ways that you can really put it to work in your daily life.
You have to support where your heart is, what's doing good for other people. And you have to have camaraderie that's going to do good for humanity, individuals' health, and the planet health as well. And it's great to put it all together with like-minded people.
It's wonderful to be at this conference. And like I said, I'm a lifer. I'm coming back as long as you invite me.
What a terrific video.
Yeah, thank you for helping create it.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yep. So talk a little bit
I
also.
got a job at a
Oh,
middle school
shoot.
that was
Oh my
farther to the
goodness.
west.
How do I stop this?
I know you probably haven't traveled in
Oh
a
my
while,
God, now
but don't
everything's
worry.
up. Sorry,
Expedia
guys.
Travel Week is coming, and you could save 20% or more on thousands of hotels with.
Sorry about that. I am not the best at this screen share, but I will get it. There we go. Your watch is talking. My computer is talking. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so that hopefully, guys, you got a little glimpse of how fun it is. And, you know, being there virtually, it's still going to be really fun. And you can make your own food while we're all eating. I mean, I'm not going to be there in person, but I bought the ticket the minute it came out to be there virtually. So we'll be able to just see all these great doctors and other speakers that you have.
Yeah, and it's my intent to, I'm not sure quite how, but as long as there's a way for me to do it on the virtual platform, I'm going to post the recipes. So, and I'll get them posted as soon as I confirm all of them with the hotel. So that's going to take another 2 weeks, but we'll post recipes and you'll have the recipes. And also, if you are a member of the National Health Association, we have a recipe section and you can see the recipes that we've shared at our last conference in 2019 and 2018, and you can see the recipes that Chef AJ has shared in our magazine.
Yeah, the magazine is a beautiful magazine. It's called. Do you have a copy maybe to hold up?
This is the most recent spring issue.
And a little bit lower
Okay.
too. Yeah, go down a little bit. Yeah, and talk. There you go.
Okay.
And how does one procure the magazine?
So you can go to, I think you'll have the link posted, but it's just go to healthscience.org and you'll see a green tab that says join. And if you're in the US, you can join for only $35 a year. And for that $35, you'll get one of these. It's 40 pages, advertisement free. Every recipe is salt, oil, and sugar free. The summer one coming up, Faith Scott is doing our recipes.
Oh my God, I love her.
I love her.
That's the one thing I miss about conferences is their family. They're amazing.
Right. So we have great interviews with leading doctors. We have testimonials. We have a few recipes. We have something called Timeless Teachings, if there's room, where it's so interesting to go back to 1952 and pull up an article and see that while we're following the science, and certainly things change, the fundamentals of exclusively whole foods hasn't changed. And so it's not that complicated. Once you learn the fundamentals, you learn to tweak just what you like. And the other thing, if you're a member of the National Health Association, that $35, we've archived 42 years of magazines in PDF. And you can look them up if you just want to know when Chef AJ did a recipe. You can search by her name, you can search by testimonials, you can search by interviews, and it's very searchable. And we have ebooks on there, and some of the ebooks you can't even buy on eBay. They're out of print. You can't purchase them. They would be some of the older books like from Dr. Shelton. And what's different about the National Health Association than other plant-based organizations is that besides being a proponent for whole plant foods, exclusively whole foods that are salt, oil, sugar-free, we promote exercise, sleep, and medically supervised water fasting when indicated. And I don't know of any other organization that has that combination. And so that's quite a benefit. You get some discounts on our webpage. So Vitamix, you'll always see a discount. If you're going to buy any Vitamix product, right now it's 15%, sometimes it's 20%. Your membership is paid for 3 years if you just buy one Vitamix and use our discount.
Wow, that's great. Thank you for doing that. Victoria says, what a transformation, Wanda. I have never seen the before picture all these years. You are looking younger and younger.
So I am assuming that is Dr. Victoria Lee, and she is going to be one of the guides. So we have so many people, probably 75% of our attendees come in on Thursday. And it's because everybody wants to reconnect with the people they met at last year's conference, family and friends. And so we do bonus sessions on Thursday night that we haven't charged for. One day we probably will. And then I'm renting limo buses at our expense, and we're taking you guys on guided hikes. And Victoria and I went out last weekend, and we've identified 3 different level of hikes. And so no matter what level you're at, you're going to have a great experience if you reserve a seat on the bus for those in person.
Nice. So one of the things I think that's so cool about what you guys do and promote is the SOS-free. It, you know, for a while, I became SOS-free in 2008, and it was, a lot of people looked down upon it in the plant-based world, saying, oh, it's too extreme, it's too difficult. And Dr. X says salt's okay, and Dr. Y says sugar's okay, and this other doctor says, you know, not so much oil, but caffeine is fine, coffee's fine, alcohol's fine. But I see so many more people embracing it, not just the people that have always embraced it, like Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. Sabatino, and Dr. Esser, but like younger people, like Dylan Holmes and Brittany Giroudi, and like Faith Scott and her kids. So it's like becoming kind of cool to eat SOS-free, you know?
Right. And restaurants are a little, it's still not easy to eat out, but we travel, we eat in places where I can prepare the food as much as possible. But boy, tomorrow is my 30th wedding anniversary, and the comparison of traveling when I first met Mark in 1989 and traveling now is completely different. And even the things you can order, there weren't Leafside products, or now I order things from people like Dylan Holmes. And if I know I'm going to be staying at an Airbnb or with a family member, I have stuff shipped to where I'm going to stay. And it's all about making it easy, and I never want it to look like I'm some prima donna that needs all this extra attention when I come visit. You know, you want it to be under at least I do. I like to be under the radar. I don't want to push my lifestyle on family who isn't interested. But by the way, my 83-year-old father, who's never been interested, has a little bit of mild cognitive decline. He's now interested. And when I'm done here today, he bought a Vitamix and he wants to start making green smoothies. That's one way he'll get more greens in. And he wants me, I always take him shopping. We're learning label reading.
Wow.
So you never know.
It's never too late, but it seems that so many people wait until it's almost too late sometimes to make these changes.
Isn't that a shame that they don't appreciate their health till they lose their health? And a lot of people are lucky enough to get second chances, and some aren't. And it's very hard to watch family members go down that path.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, you know, we have to be responsible for ourselves and just set good patterns, good examples.
Amy says, Wanda looks great, happy, and healthy. And Liz says, will you ever have Ann Esselstyn at your conference? She's a hoot, and I think she lives in Cleveland.
Right. So I am going to, if we keep having it in Cleveland, absolutely, I need to talk to them. Our thought process was because they're in Cleveland, they've already saturated the Cleveland market, and the people, we get so many people obviously from Cleveland that come. I was just trying to bring new voices and more variety. And I'm always interested in diversity. So I welcome anybody sending me an email with recommendations of who they'd like to hear. And that'll be the neat thing about the virtual. We're going to create some polls, and we're going to create some Q&A and surveys, and it'll be the best way for me to get feedback that we've never collected before.
Nice. Well, if you ever, I mean, she's hilarious doing cooking demos. I got to tell you.
I've seen her. Actually, Ann and Caldwell came to our house for dinner and introduced me to some flavored vinegars that I'll show at the cooking demo when they spoke at YSU. And
actually, speaking of flavored vinegars, Thomas Allen is watching right now, and you get 2 free bottles in the flavor of your choice just for being a guest on this show. So
I'm out of the teriyaki, Thomas.
We'll send you an email. You can pick any 2. He's got some new flavors now, like Persian lime and ginger, that are absolutely excellent. Chef Del Struth is watching live, and he says hello to you.
Yeah, Del is a friend. We've been at many conferences together. Hi, Del.
Yeah, that is great. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So
Yeah.
you are going to show us a recipe that you make in the Vitamix, and I can't wait to see it because it sounds amazing. I didn't realize that Vitamix had a food processor attachment that you said you are using.
Right. So I've been making ice cream for nieces, nephews, even the family that doesn't eat this way. There's certain foods of mine that they request. They're used to me having when they come over. And I just had a baby shower for my youngest daughter and had a big family gathering and had to make a lot of ice cream. So this is the new food processor attachment from Vitamix. And it's just so much easier than my Cuisinart because you can see as I'm holding it how light it is. And it fits right on the Ascent series. So luckily I had the Ascent series. It also works on the Venturist series. So those are the only two that this attachment works on. So
Wanda, would you mind showing me the base? Because the series, if I don't see it, doesn't mean anything.
Oh, okay. This is my Vitamix base. And it's the Ascent 2500. They have there's 4 Ascent models, 23, 25, 33, and 35. And as the numbers go higher, the amenities on the machine go up and the price goes up a little bit. The 2500 has worked really well for me. And I'll show you before I start, there's just a little attachment here. And look how easy the bowl comes off. And I know my Cuisinart, if I would want to take it off the base, then this would disconnect and all my food would get caught up. I'd have to empty it into a bowl, put your blade back on. None of that happens with this. It's so flexible. So can you see it? I'm only going to put 4 ingredients in. So the 4 ingredients are, I'm going to start with 2 bananas that I froze. And this machine's pretty powerful. I took them out when AJ was showing the video, so they haven't been pre-thawed. I have 2 cups of organic dark frozen cherries. I have, and this is adaptable, 2 tablespoons of cacao powder, and my favorite is Santa Barbara. It's just the cacao bean. There's nothing else in there. So I'll dump that in. Go ahead.
As I was saying, if somebody couldn't have chocolate, they could probably use carom powder.
Yes, and I think I'm going to try, just because of my caffeine sensitivities, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to try mixing carob and cacao powder. And then we make our own nut butters here. And so this is 2 tablespoons of nut butter. Let me grab one thing. I'll be right back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hey, Jessie, good to see you again. I'm fine.
I'm right back. I meant to have this out. So we buy nuts from nuts.com. And if I don't have peanut butter made, I can just dump in maybe a half a cup of nuts and I just run the Vitamix. I dump this in first and I run the Vitamix for maybe 20 seconds to get them ground up a little bit. But we happen to have made cashew butter this week, and we made peanut butter, and we always have just organic almond butter with no oil. So you could use any.
Are you making your nut butters in the Vitamix?
I am. So when I make a small batch, which is what I typically do, I don't particularly love having a lot of it around on a day-to-day basis. This is another gadget that goes, it has its own blade. I can dump a half a cup in and make a small portion. And I love this because it just grinds it up. I have the bigger one, but it's a challenge sometimes. I haven't tried a big portion in here yet. And there are different gadgets, by the way, when you're making your Vitamix. If you're using the regular base that so many people have, you can still do it in here. It's just your stirring area is smaller, so you might need to scrape it down. And Vitamix sells this for like $15, and you can get under the blades, and this is their standard. They've come up with a new one, and I don't know if they've sold it, but watch for it. This is awesome. That they gave.
That is cool, because the one complaint I have with the Vitamix, because I have both the Vitamix and the Blend-Tec, is you can't get that little bit at the bottom out.
This makes a huge difference. Okay, so I'm just going to dump in the peanut butter. And I'm going to put the lid on. And it varies, but I think it's only going to take maybe 45 seconds. And I usually do not have to scrape it. So my Vitamix counts up, and that was exactly 45 seconds. So I love how on all the Vitamix lids, they do that nice that nice click, you can tell. And then it just comes off.
That's so cool, because Hannah Kaminsky was on the show on Friday making ice cream in a food processor, and she explained she likes it better than doing it in the blender because you don't have to add any liquid then.
I added no liquid, and you saw I didn't even take any time to scrape down the sides. And then you can see how easily the blade comes out. And I'm going to put a cup right there, and I have a scoop, just a standard ice cream scoop. Whoops. And I will put 2 scoops in here. Well, maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, 2 scoops dripping over the side. And then I have, let's see, I have chocolate orange balsamic vinegar from California Balsamic. I have their very chocolate vinegar, I think, or very cherry balsamic. So I think I'll drizzle a little bit of Thomas's very cherry. Can you see it?
Oh my God. Yeah, it looks amazing. You have to talk while you do that.
Oh, okay, yep. So I'm not so fancy in the kitchen, but there's your chocolate cherry ice cream with a little syrup on top in 1 minute. And then the other thing is I bought these little, what I'll do with, you could see there was enough for probably 2 or 3 servings more. I will just put them in here, and I'll put them in my freezer. And then I have a treat when the kids come over or when I want more.
Wow. Chrissy says, how long does it last in the freezer?
Oh, I've never tempted it longer than a month. I probably have never left it in there more than 2 weeks. I only usually have 1 or 2 cups left over at a time. And so it lasts easily for 2 weeks. I can't tell you beyond that.
Well, it's so easy to make, because when you think about old-fashioned ice cream makers, they took hours to make ice cream.
Yep, and so easy to clean up, because now, unlike the Cuisinart blenders, there's just not, it's light. I think it's even dishwasher safe, but it's so easy that I don't even put it in the dishwasher. I rinse it out, and it's easy to store. So it comes with, of course, your shredding blades, and everything stores right in itself. I have enough space on my kitchen counter that I leave the processor attachment takes up a whole lot less room than the whole Cuisinart base.
I had no idea that such an attachment existed. I'm not sure I have the right base, though. I'll shoot a picture and maybe you can let me know sometime.
It's a fairly new product, and I'll share, they have one other new product that is just for this year for people looking for a lower priced Vitamix. They're making, it's called the Vitamix One. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. Tell me about it.
It was made for their 100th anniversary, and it's in the $200 price range. I forget if it's above $250. And it's very simple, and the canister may only be 32 ounces, and it's just got 1 dial, and it's perfect if you have a second home. It'd be really great for kids away at college, or if you just have very limited counter space. It's much more compact. It's not going to blend nuts. There's some things it's not going to have quite the power, but for 90% of what we all do, it's going to be fabulous at a great price point.
Wow, that's great. And I love that new little spatula. Who knew?
Yeah. I would watch on their line, and they're all going to be at our conference. So if somebody's wondering, they can ask that question there too.
Great. And you said even the people watching virtually can interact with vendors to ask questions, right?
Right. So the vendors can, I'm encouraging each of our vendors to set up time that they're going to be in the booth. So you know that when we're eating lunch or when there's a break, that they're going to be in their booth and you can go and talk to them.
Yeah,
and then all of the content is going to be, if you miss something during the weekend, if you have to go out, I assume everybody has a few other things to do when they're at home. That's the beauty of coming to a conference. You just get to put your other commitments on hold and focus on being with this community. But if you're home and you need to do something, you can come back and watch it. The replays of all the content will stay up for 6 months. I cannot promise you that the booth will stay open for 6 months. I'm working on that.
Oh, nice. Amy's saying, great idea, drizzling the balsamic on top. It's like a sundae then. I love to do that with the fruity flavors.
Right. And when my kids were in school and the teachers would all have ice cream parties, back then I used the large Champion juicer, which is a beast of a machine. And I hosted Sunday parties, making ice cream, taking carob chips and peanuts and let the kids make their own ice cream. And all kids love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All adults love it.
Oh, that's how you get them in, is with the dessert. Christy says, how many cups is the food processor attachment?
Oh, great question. I think it is 14. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 12 cups. I'm looking at the line and it says 12 cup.
It looks big.
Yeah, I could have swore it was 14, but it clearly says, 12 cup maximum capacity. And I don't know if you knew, that's the other neat thing about the Vitamix blenders. When you're loading them, I think it's the only blender. You can load them all the way to the top and the lid's not going to explode on them.
Yeah, unless you do like put the lid in it like I did. And then
unless you put the lid in it, right. Now, look, Chef AJ, everything, oh, you wanted this to be color. Everything's clear.
Yeah. That's how come I didn't know it was in the blender. But hey, it provided good comedy. Up until when can people register, Wanda, either for the live conference or the virtual conference?
The virtual conference, the price is $97 right now, and that's a sale price that will remain in effect until June 25th when the conference starts, and it'll go to $127. So we're trying to keep the cost low so everybody can attend. The in-person, I'm trying to think when I have to give the hotel my final number. So I'm officially saying in-person things are starting on June 24th. So probably by June 15th, they're going to need my final numbers for the kitchen staff.
Sure. Marcy says, what makes better an ice cream? The device you showed today or the Champion juicer, since you've had them both?
So I think they're equal. I can't believe it. I never thought anything would equal the Champion. It's all about volume. I'm never going to dig that big Champion juicer out to make ice cream for 6 people or less. But when I'm doing a party and I might be making ice cream for 20 people, you can't beat how quick that Champion just.
Yeah, that's what I would use it for my classes. Yeah. The thing about the Champion, I think it's so creamy. It's so heavy.
It's so heavy, but we need to be doing that lifting.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Well, you are just such a great beacon of success of how this diet works, because you really didn't have any health problems per se, right? When you were 50 pounds heavier?
No, I didn't. Just feeling foggy in my mind and tired and not able to keep up with my husband, who's a few years older than I am. And I had kids and I had my mother-in-law moving in with me. And, I just wanted to stay active. And I see too many people at 60 and 70 that are having all these health issues. And it's undeniable that this way of eating will protect you from it. None of us have a guarantee of life for sure, but I don't know any better way to put the odds in our favor than following this lifestyle.
Do you have any local friends that eat like you?
I do. I'm really lucky. My MD follows Joel Furman and T. Colin Campbell, and she's a nephrologist, but she opened up a small holistic practice and we've done local events together. And so I've built a community in our town because I've hosted local events. And so people know, and people in town where I work out, when they have health problems, that's when I get the call. What do I do? My doctor said I have heart disease. And I'm working with our local food bank right now, and we're putting on a fundraiser, and the fundraiser is going to serve all whole food plant-based meals.
That's great. Well, I just appreciate so much the work that you and Mark and the NHA do. And so thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks everybody for listening. And please consider going on to healthscience.org, because my personal goal is that we've been around for 73 years. We certainly want to be around for 100, and we can't do it without the support of people who are interested.
Well, maybe if more of us eat this way, we'll all be around for 100 years.
Well, there's no reason we shouldn't, and be around healthy for 100 years, right?
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to see Mark's history, because he's like really like one of the only people I know that's been doing this longer than me, but he's been doing it since birth.
Right. And he's going to turn 70 at our conference. And when we're done here today, he's going over to a friend's house who's much younger and going to be moving furniture, because they need help moving furniture. And at 70, he works out 3 days a week and eats healthy and has no health problems and has never taken medication in his life. It's a great motivator.
That's incredible, man. I wish his parents were alive so I could talk to them, because it was
so Ruth was here when Ann Esselstyn came for dinner, and I made eggplant patties. Doesn't have any oil, but it does have nuts, ground up nuts as a binder. And she was so sweet with Ruth, because Ruth was older than Ann. She lived to 97, but she'd be over 100 today. And she just said, "Oh, you can't do this without nuts." And Ruth lived with us, so she'd be here when I was giving cooking classes to small groups of women. And she's a quiet lady, but when she heard them complaining about how hard it is, she couldn't help it. She'd say, "Oh dear, let me tell you what hard is when I was raising a family doing this in the 50s," and would give them a better perspective. She was a great example.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, this is wonderful, and the recipe is wonderful, and you're wonderful. And thank you for teaching me about all those new accessories. I had no idea they existed, and I hope everyone will check the link out, because you get a little bit of a discount if you register early, and we can see will we be able to see each other, those of us virtually? Well, how will that work?
No, I think you'll see, just like on YouTube where the scrolling, you'll be able to scroll and see who's there. The only way you'll see each other virtually is if you hop into a networking session.
I see. That's cool. Okay, well, that'll be
great.
You
can shop in your pajamas and not worry about it.
Shop in like QVC, huh?
Right. All right. Well, thank you, Chef AJ. It was a pleasure.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Wanda. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back in 4 hours. We have another show today with Elizabeth Manser, who is celebrating her 71st birthday today. She was on the show a year ago for her 70th. She's going to be making some fabulous summer salads. Take care, Wanda. Enjoy your ice cream. Bye.
Bye-bye.